And welcome to Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS, a job costing, full accounting, and profit management software for the professional home builder. This video it will be a video about what is called allowances in CHS, and some builders in some areas call these options. And I will be talking about how you set up things as allowances when you're budgeting, and how CHS will track the overages and unders based on your actual costs versus the original budgeted allowances. First of all, I've opened the budget worksheet for a job we've been working on in previous demo videos. I went to the home, from the Home tab, I clicked Budget Estimates, and then this window opened, and then I clicked on the budget amount for this particular demo job. Notice up here the Help button. And these videos, etc., and help documents that I create will show up here. In this case, we're interested in allowances, and we're going to notice that the videos are currently being developed, which is what I'm doing right now, but that there's also a help document for allowances. So I clicked on that, and I'm going to click to open this help document. And like I've said before, notice how it's in a separate tab up here, so I could jump back over here to Custom Home, to my regular program, and then come back to this help document whenever I needed it. As you'll see here, allowances, or some builders call them options, are generally maximum amounts that the builder has authorized for customer selections for certain types of costs. They might be for the appliance packages, plumbing fixtures, hardware, carpet, etc. And often the builder's contract states that if the customer makes selections that total to more than the allowance, the builder will add the overage amount to the contract price, and vice versa. They often agree to reduce the contract price for selections that are under the allowance amount. This program will track allowances and produce reports that display allowance costs that are over or under the allowance amount. During this video, we are going to discuss about what happens with allowance over unders when you create a change order for an allowance amount, but let's get started. So let's close this help window, and notice that my help document is still up here. So as I work, I could be referring to it, etc., if I needed to. Now you'll notice, and we mentioned it in some earlier videos about budgeting. When you budget, when you click on a line, I've clicked on the line for total appliance package, and I marked this as an allowance by using the allowance in the unit measure field. That's how CHS knows that you're going to want to track the overages on these particular budgeted items so that you can charge the customer for that in addition to a fixed contract price based on your basic contract. So you'll notice there's various ones here that are for allowances, and you'll see how we can get some list of those here in just a second. So up at the top of the window, after you've gone through and done your budget and marked the things for allowances and put amounts for them, you'll probably want to click the Allowances Tools. And again, you can get the help for allowances by clicking that. But the first thing we're going to talk about is an allowance worksheet and an agreement that you can print about allowances that you could give to your buyer. So I'm going to go ahead and open that. And we call it an allowance worksheet because basically you're working up what you want to put on your allowance agreement. So basically this window, you'll notice that right now it's sitting on Specs, Plats, Blueprints. This window is so that you can type some notes here in the buyer notes area about the allowance items to explain to them what the amount is for or what it includes. You'll notice that there's check marks on the ones where I both have internal notes, and these will not print on allowance agreements. These will. And if you've typed a bunch of internal notes, you can quickly get them into the buyer notes by clicking this button, Copy Internal Notes to Buyer Notes. But over here, if you scroll through your costs and these are only for ones marked as allowances, and it shows you the total of the budgeted allowances there, you can tell whether you have entered buyer notes or not because there's check marks for ones that have. Let's go down to the total appliance package because we're going to use that particular allowance item for a demonstration of over, unders, etc. throughout this video. You'll notice that down here in internal notes, and if you typed a bunch, you could drag this window and read them all. We kind of typed it like this in plain text, and that's how you do type internal notes. But in our buyer notes, we made it look kind of nice as to what we are including in this allowance cooktop dishwasher. And pay particular attention, there's no refrigerator here, and we're going to see how that becomes an overage amount here in just a little bit. So you can see these notes that I typed here. Then the other thing on this window is that if you want to add a markup percent, say an allowance is over by so much, and you want to mark up that amount that it's over by a certain percent that you want to attach, a markup percent that you want to attach to the allowance overages, you can. We've been using a 25% markup on this job, and then of course it's your choice whether you want to also give them, if they're under their allowance, if you also want to give them a markup credit for that. And we'll go ahead and be really honest, nice, fair builder and go ahead and give them a markup on their credits also. Now once you make any changes on the screen to the notes or to this, you're going to need to do the submit. Notice these buttons have grayed out, waiting for me to do the submit, and the words submit or reset are suddenly showed up and are in red. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that so that it gets these markup amounts stored. And this is for all, this is on all allowance overages. It would be applied to all of them, not just this total appliance package. It just happens to be over here on the left. So let's take a look at our allowance agreement, the resulting allowance agreement that CHS will produce for you. First of all, down at the bottom, notice that it is indicating that markup. If those were zero, these lines wouldn't show if you're not going to do the markups on it. And there's a place for signatures, and you'll notice that the buyer notes are showing up here on this report. Any buyer notes, if there weren't notes, they're just line items. But this could be a fairly detailed, you can type those notes pretty much about as long as you like to explain what their allowance is for. And then this is something that you could, of course, export to PDF. All of our reports first open quickly as what's called an HTML report, and those are just for you to print out. They're kind of like a rough draft, and if you do the PDF, it'll be ready for you to email. It'll open in your own, probably a PDF reader, etc., or to save. We also have the email address right on here. PDFs recognize that, so if I click on it, it would go straight to my email to be able to send this as an attachment if I liked. But that's the allowance report and agreement. We have another allowance report, and if you watch previous videos, you'll know that we set up items behind the cost code 5505. We set up what is called items for these various things with their amounts. So you can do an allowance agreement that includes items on it so that you have a lot more detail besides just the note you wrote. Here's some items we did for plumbing fixtures in one of our videos. And down here you'll see the items that we have here for appliances and the individual things and a description of them and what adds up to this total allowance amount that we're giving them. Down here, a list of those items. So you could also do that one with items if you like to include the items because you've really set them up like you like. That's about all there is to the allowance worksheet and setting up your notes for doing an allowance agreement. So I'll close that. We've kind of done our allowance agreement, and I'm going to move to discussing how CHS will analyze your over-unders for you, how much your allowances have gone over or under. And I'd like to go ahead and click this button to open the over-under analysis. Now this job has just started. We've just done our budget, so we actually do not have any over-unders. But what I'd like to talk about is it'll show your budgeted allowance, and it will show your estimated cost at completion for that particular cost. Now I've mentioned before, and we will have other videos that really go into the estimated cost at completion worksheet in detail, But as you issue purchase orders, as you post costs, as you issue change orders, etc., your estimated cost at completion for this cost code may be changed. We compare your budgeted allowance to your estimated cost at completion. So, for example, if I issued a purchase order suddenly for $1,700 for the front door, even though I haven't paid the cost, you'll see that purchase order amount over here. You also will see the $200 difference show up here. Your estimated cost of completion will change to $1,700. CHS detects that PO and will change. Okay, now we're estimating it to cost $1,700 because we just committed to $1,700. So it'll pick that up, show the difference of $200, apply 25% to it, and show you the overage. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video so that we can continue to a second video that's going to show how we are going to go post a PO and then post a couple of actual costs, and then how these variances are working and showing up on a contract balance report, showing the overages being applied to the contract balance for a revised balance. And we will continue this video in the very next video. Thank you for watching.